G'day guys, James
Hi.
and Ant here, Labour and Wood. So we're just going to talk about customising bats for slightly taller guys.
Indeed.
Let's presume he's above 6'1", 6'2".
Yep.
So we'd usually recommend 1 inch long blade or 1 inch long handle.
Yeah.
Or something in between with a slightly longer handle, slightly longer blade.
Yep. Yep.
But to keep things simple, what is the benefit of a long blade and what is the benefit of a long handle?
Well, I mean, to be honest, a lot of that is personal preference. I mean, it's one of those things that, in a technical sense, if you actually just used a balance point to work out which one picks up better, the longer blade standard handle version should have a better balance point.
A higher balance point.
Yeah, so it just changes that. Whereas the long handle standard blade would have more weight down here, so it just would feel that little bit more heavier in the pickup. But everyone has a different way, different feel, different preference in the way that they like their bat. So it's not always you can actually manipulate that as well by changing the shape.
Yep.
And so that's one of those things that really it's a case of adapting the shape to suit the style of bat and wicket that we're actually making for you. We get the length right just purely on your height, where you hold the handle.
Yep.
Like a long handle, if you're holding it right at the top, then it works. But if you have a long handle bat but you're holding it low down, you've got loads of handles sticking out. There's no point in having a long handle. So it's one of those things that ultimately it's getting that right and then working out where that sweet spot needs to be in relation to the sort of wickets you're playing in, because it's not just a case of having that long bat.
Your shot selection, etc.
Exactly. So then you work out that the length has got to suit where you hold it and how tall you are and that sort of thing. Get that right, and then we can start to build that sweet spot position and profile for you, because that is also very important to get that balance right, and so you could effectively end up with both bats balancing exactly the same, with one just having a sweet spot in a different place to the other one. So it's sort of you can manipulate things around quite a lot.
So when it just comes to purely recommending a bat for a player, when do you recommend a 1 inch long handle and when do you recommend a 1 inch long blade?
It's one of those things that ultimately, if a player holds the handle right at the top of the handle, and they perhaps hit a lot of balls low down, then it's long handle, perfect, it works. And if they like a lot of meat down there, not so worried about the pickup, they just want to actually feel a lot of bat behind the ball when they hit it. Maybe a real driving player.
So it's slightly more aggressive style, perhaps.
Yeah, possibly not necessarily totally aggressive, but just like to actually feel the weight behind the ball, and it's not all about just fast bat speed. They might not even play the cut shot, for instance, and that sort of thing. Whereas the longer blade probably suits a player that perhaps holds it in the middle of the handle or even low down. You might even find you even go with a super short handle and a long blade, just purely because you hold the bat, you effectively choke the handle, which is not a bad thing. It's just purely that's your style. So then no point in having a long handle. You want to have the longer blade, and then we figure out that sweet spot position. And then
something that I've noticed with these long bats is a really cool setup is having the 1/2 inch long blade and 1/2 inch long handle. So it's more reminiscent of a short handle standard blade bat, which might pick up better.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things that ultimately, a 1/2 inch, lengthening everything just a little bit. It still gives you that overall length longer, but it's just, and effectively, I mean, to be honest, as a rule, every time you lengthen the bat, it's going to feel heavier in the pickup to a standard short handle. So you've always got to bear that in mind. And so ultimately, if you're lengthening the bat, but you still want a really low sweet spot, it's going to pick up a little bit heavier. So usually what happens is that when we start lengthening the blade, if someone's come up through the ranks, they've gone through the different sizes of bats as they've got older, and now they might be 16, 18, up to the 6'1", 6'2", so they're starting to think about the longer blades. Well, you know, they might not be ready for a heavier pickup bat. So that's where the position of the sweet spot's quite crucial, because if we bring that profile up a bit, it then gives them a nice balance. So it's not just all down low, and but we can still make it perform low. It's just purely we bring the bulk of the wood higher up. Yeah.
Understood. So that's long handles and long blades for those taller batsmen.
That's it.